Hi, and welcome to FK Twigs video that I promised in my last video. Listen, I got this mic. It doesn't work. I mean, it does work, it's just not the right sound. And I got it like for a bit, and that bit is coming in another video. Am I still pissed that I can't use it because it's like cute and pink or whatever? Yes. Am I going to pretend like I'm using it anyway, just for shits and giggles today? Yes. Let's start with Twigs. So Magdalene is Twigs, aka Talia Barnett's second album that was released in 2019. The first song that was released was Cellophane, a song that became one of Twigs' most popular songs to date. Of course, we all know that this album was inspired by her relationship with Robert Pattinson and the relationship's fallout, an event that brought the theme of womanhood in patriarchal society to the forefront of Twigs' art inspirations. I do personally think that not every song on this album was inspired by Robert, and I think that some of them were inspired by the abusive relationship she had with Shia LaBeouf. I will explain in the future why I even think so. For now, I'm just gonna state it. The album title was inspired by Magdalene, obviously Mary Magdalene, a follower of Jesus that was oftentimes referred to as the apostle to the apostles, due to her presence and her role in Jesus' life and how much she's done in her life. Magdalene is a really interesting person. Wait, I was too low. Especially when put in the context of misinterpretation and dismissal of achievements of women, which is one of the things that Twigs wanted to explore with this album. The misinterpretation part comes in the form of Magdalene being labeled as a prostitute and a sinful woman by Pope Gregory I, who literally just like made a mistake confusing Magdalene with another woman in the Bible. And it's not like, honestly dude, it's not that difficult. There's not that many women in the Bible. You could have figured it out, but whatever. His word traveled far and wide until in 1969 Pope Paul VI officially denounced this narrative, but the damage was already done. Magdalene's real position as an apostle was mostly forgotten by the public and replaced with a false narrative that some pope came up with. FKA mentioned herself that as a woman, your story is often attached to the narrative of a man, no matter what you're doing or how great your work is. Sometimes it's as though you have to be attached to a man to be validated. I started to read about Mary Magdalene and how amazing she was, how she was likely to have been Jesus' best friend, his confidant. She was an herbalist and a healer, but her story is written out of the Bible and she was a prostitute. I found a lot of power in the story of Mary Magdalene, a lot of dignity, a lot of grace, a lot of inspiration. It was a false narrative. If Magdalene was a prostitute, that would be a different conversation, right? So let's talk about the visual language of Magdalene, the thing that we're here for. Let's start with Cellophane. The first video released, a pre-release single, right? That was the first thing that we heard from Magdalene, the first time we saw the artwork for this project. Andrew Thomas Huang directed the video. He actually directed a few videos for Björk, by the way, which makes a lot of sense that he would be working, with Björk, with FK Twigs. I wouldn't be surprised if he were to take on a project with someone like Kate Bush, if he had an opportunity to do so. In the music video, Twigs performs on stage doing a pole dancing routine. She actually learned pole dancing for this video, for this performance, because she had this vision of what the video was supposed to look like and she really wanted to deliver on it herself. The performance in this video was the result of like a year of hard work. The well-controlled, slow movement at the beginning of the video with some cold clacking sounds from her massive platformed high heels that also created this sound of a sword cutting through air when she threw her legs over her body. The This swinging off the pole is captured in an incredible way. It's so captivating. Of course, the performance itself is phenomenal, but I think that the way that it was filmed just added so much to the performance. It was really fitting. It did a lot to really elevate the performance instead of, hindering the experience, because that's very common with performances. It's hard to capture them in a way that would make them impactful in the video, and I think that they did a really good job. By they, I mean FKA Twigs and Huang, or Andrew. Around 2 minutes in, we're introduced to a weird image and a reflection of this stage. Overwhelmed when you're gone. This part of the video is a little bit disorienting because we suddenly perceive up as down. Everything is just put in a different perspective, and then we are put back into the perspective that we were used to, only to see that the ceiling opened up to a strange scene. We see a creature that approaches Twigs, a creature that looks somewhat like a sphinx. I'm not going to say 100% what the hell that thing is, but I think it's kind of like a sphinx. This being has Twigs' face. She morphs with the creature and starts falling down in a space that seems bottomless. First of all, I've never seen anyone fall in CGI stunt combination filming in such a way that actually makes you feel like they're falling, because most of the time I always feel like it's just slightly off. Genuinely, it looks like her body is falling instead of this awkward suspension that happens in video media a lot. When people try to fly or fall. Second of all, the idea of using fabrics as a framing device was absolutely genius for this video. We start with curtains, okay? Then we have the ceiling opening up with fabrics at the perimeter of it. Then when Twigs falls, she is surrounded by pieces of fabric that are either sometimes suspended or sometimes they're just swooshing by her at an incredible speed. These materials give a lot of dimension to this scene. It wouldn't feel as dramatic. It would definitely not feel like a tremendous fall if it wasn't for them. At the end, Twigs crushes into the ground. I would say that it's quite a violent fall, except the mud really softens the blow, or at least it looks like it. She's then covered in mud or clay by the women that were at the bottom of this cave or whatever that space is supposed to be. So it seems like a reference to being remade or being made from clay, kind of a story of destruction and rebirth. Home With You. Home With You is a third pre-release single for this album, and the song itself is dealing with the expectations people have for you, people relying on you when you cannot even rely on yourself, or at least you're struggling to rely on yourself. The song references Twigs' experience of having fibroid tumors, which fibroid tumors are non-cancerous growths around or in the womb. The visuals of this video were inspired by modern clubs and The Handmaid's Tale, specifically the show. The video was directed by Twigs herself. We opened at a small club that is filled with people. It feels a little bit claustrophobic. She is dressed in what I could describe, or I would describe, as a Baroque gown deconstructed. It is incredible. It looks really great, and of course it's made by her collaborator that she works with all the time in terms of costuming, Josephson. I've talked about him in a previous video too. She leaves the club, drives away, and her and the other three women in the car start dancing or doing choreography while sitting down. If you're wondering who's driving, nobody. I don't know how they got there, but no one's driving, okay? I'm gonna assume that it's the Holy Ghost, considering the theme of this album. We get to this countryside scenery and this house where everyone is dressed in white, the same shade of white as the clothes that's being hung up to dry in the backyard or back garden of this house. We cut to an older woman taking care of Twigs, who is dressed in all white now. At least it seems like she's taking care of her. The woman swings a rug around, which looks like some kind of ritual, like one of those things that your grandma would do to like bring luck into your life or something like that. I know that for some people this is gonna sound kind of foreign, but I know that some of you are gonna relate to it. Twig starts running right after the woman lifts her up, but like in a very aggressive way. She kind of threw her up into the air, and it seems like she is running to someone who she was singing about, right? So in this case it was partner, right? So presumably a partner who is lonely, right? But at the end we realized that she was actually running to rescue her own self, and that she needed that nurturing, that help from that older woman to actually get to help herself and her as like a little child, right? So based on the interview that she did in Vancouver with Zane Lowe, I think that's his name, I'm assuming that she's talking, or at least she's showing visually, that she found her inner child again and helped her out because she was in distress. That's just my assumption. That's my reading, okay? All right. Also, she runs really funny. But it does make it weirdly more captivating than if she was running in like a very typical Hollywood-esque way. Also, there's an eye in her belly button. I do not know what that is about. I tried to think about what that could mean. Maybe, like the chakra that's in that area, maybe somehow related to it or something. I don't know. If you have any ideas, please let me know, because that is the part that I do not get, okay? Sad Day. We also get a music video for Sad Day, a song about realizing that your partner is not trying to keep you. He's not trying to keep the relationship going. He is passive. He's not trying to keep you at all, and that's a sad day for sure. It's not really fully a music video for Sad Day. It also features Mirrored Heart, and both of these songs are not really the focal point of the video. It is kind of used as a little bit of a soundtrack, I guess, or just like background music. Sad Day is also kind of a struggle between two people, kind of like a song about the breaking point, I guess. And Mirrored Heart is realizing that the person that you spend so much time with, they inevitably become a reflection of you, or you become a reflection of them, or at least you should be reflections of each other. There should be reciprocity too. I guess it's like there's double meaning as far as I understand. And Twigs does not see that reflection in her current partner. The release of Magdalene happened when she was actually in a relationship with Shia LaBeouf, and their relationship was on hold. And the reason why I included it is not because I wanted to, give you some hot goss. It's not like that at all. What I wanted to talk about here is the fact that this quote by Twigs that kind of pushed me in the direction of thinking that this song, Mirrored Heart, was actually maybe about Shia. I think that it talks about kind of confronting the thought of why you're with this person. So she said, people always say whoever you're with, they should be a reflection of yourself. So if you're looking at someone and you think you're a shitbag, then you have to think about why it was that person at that time and what's connecting you both. What is the reflection? Do you see why I think that? Because I know that obviously there's a reason why her relationship with Rob ended too, but I just feel like the way that she's talking here, it seems like it's a little bit more of an extreme situation. Are you catching what I'm throwing? This music video is also a really great music video. It features Twigs and her partner literally sword fighting. Twigs learned wushu, and she's using those techniques in this video. At one point, her partner literally splits her head, and inside it's obviously like I know that Twigs is gutsy enough to go with something gory, but she went with something a little bit more poetic, which is like something a little bit alien-esque in her head, which I think it suits her more than just going for like gore for no reason. You also see that she impaled her partner as well through the chest, I'm assuming through the heart, but there's also a hand that comes out of his chest, which grossed me out, and it like takes the sword, pulls it in to his chest even further, and I don't quite know what it means. There's a few things that I can think of, because it looks like it's her hand. Maybe it's Twigs saying that she might not have done the same impact at first in terms of damage, but then a part of her that was left in him made that wound deeper afterwards. That's I don't know, okay? I have not found any like definitive explanation as to why that part with the hand and pulling in of the sword happened. If you know something, let me know. The sequence starts all over again at the end of the video, so it kind of shows that it's like a loop. It's a toxic routine, you know? Mary Magdalene. This song does not have a music video. The reason why I'm bringing it up in the visual breakdown of this album and the rollout of this album is because I was lucky enough to see it in person when she was touring. I want to talk about the performance and specifically Twigs coming to the edge of the stage, sitting down, picking a person, calling them up to come up closer, and then her holding them, like staring at them or like looking deep into their eyes, and then singing the rest of the song to them. Really interesting. It made that moment in the show feel very, very intimate, which is strange because she was technically singing to like one person. I don't know if you can really say it technically, but she was just so focused on one person that it seems like she was performing to one person in the audience. But at the same time, it was so unusual for a concert, and it was also very loving instead of something dramatic and kind of uncomfortable like sometimes things happen with like people like Marilyn Manson. It was like a completely different experience of being like, oh, this is a moment that this person is gonna remember forever because they got really seen, I think. I don't know, it was an artistic kind of like art performance kind of experience, while at the same time not that annoying and pretentious as it usually is with art performances. And it just felt like it was happening to that person but also everyone at once, just because it was such a unique experience to see an artist do that. The costuming, oh my god, the costuming, listen, it was insane. Something about Twigs working with people that she's working with just makes magic. I don't know what it is. It's just, I guess the thing is, like, she has like a very strong idea or a very strong feeling of what she wants to do in art and who she is as an artist, that I think that no matter who she works with, there's still like, it's still Twigs, you know? I love her working with her stylist and designer because they always come up with something so fantastic. I absolutely, like, I cannot, you guys, it's incredible. Her live vocals are insane because the thing is, it's one thing being able to sing like that. She hits really, really high notes. She has this kind of opera-esque approach to her vocals. Hearing her sing it live was a very different experience because she had multiple points in the concert where she did not have a backing track. Again, it felt very intimate just because you could hear her voice so clearly. And she both pole danced and performed like wushu inspired thing with a sword. I don't know anything about wushu, so I'm just gonna like say that it was a choreographed performance of wushu with a sword. That's how I'm gonna describe it. Thousand Eyes, Fallen Alien, Cellophane. Yes, we're talking about Cellophane again, but it's because it's important for the context of the other two songs. We're focusing right now on the songs and the themes instead of the visuals of those songs, because another big topic in this album is public scrutiny, specifically racialized kind, because Twigs has spoken out about how much hate, and specifically racist hate, she has gotten for basically for just dating Robert Pattinson, just for being his girlfriend and his fiance. I guess people were like mad at her for that. I don't know, man. It's just it's nuts. I don't like being nasty to someone in general just for dating some celebrity that you have an unhealthy relationship with is already weird and already gross. But what is like with another layer of grossness of like those people being racist, it's like, all right, well, what are you doing with your life if this is what you're doing? She talks about how she's scared of the breakup in Thousand Eyes. Thousand Eyes are all the people that are watching them, all the people that have access to their relationship by default just because they are public figures and everyone just spills the beans to everybody, you know? And she talks about how she knows that she's gonna get all of scrutiny no matter what, because she already got scrutiny for just being his partner. She was making him happy and people weren't happy. Now that there will be a breakup, she knows that there would be a lot of speculation, a lot of rumors, a lot of hurtful things being said, and thousand eyes watching them. On Fallen Alien, she addresses how foreign the world of superstardom is to her. At least that's how I view it, because she repeatedly talked about the fact that she felt very uncomfortable being thrown into this hyper superstardom just because of being associated with Robert Pattinson. God, his last name is just a nightmare for someone who's not an Anglophone. She talks about how she wants to leave that spotlight. I'm searching for a light to take me home and guide me out. She feels shut out by her partner, regardless of him saying that it's the opposite. I was waiting for you, I was outside. Don't tell me what you want, cause I know you lie. I see. I am not 100% sure that this is specifically about the constant attention of the public, but it's definitely a big part of Cellophane. So that's why I put Cellophane on the list again to talk about it, because I think that it informs the way that you can read Fallen Alien and Thousand Eyes. In Cellophane, Twigs quite literally says what those crazed fans of Pattinson's wanted. They want to see us apart. Their feelings are constantly getting exposed, hence all wrapped in cellophane, the feelings that we had. Obviously, because it's suffocating, but at the same time, it is exposing everything. There's no privacy whatsoever. The last line that really hits hard, something about it really shows the nastiness of those people that were attacking her. They are waiting and hoping. I'm not enough. That's so messed up, right? Daybed. Daybed is a song about depression, straight up. My favorite line is about fruit flies being friendly. Holy Terrain is at the very end because it's just a fun track. It doesn't have that much to it, but it's very, very catchy. I absolutely adored it when it came out just because of how catchy it is. But let me tell you what, I do not like Future's verse. Not because of the delivery. I am obviously not an expert on rap or anything like that, and I actually vibe with it in terms of just me enjoying the flow of the song. I just hate the lyrics, okay? I do. With lines suggesting that her love somehow is supposed to fix him and make him a better man, especially if she prays for him. Because she's 100% in then, and she would do anything to make it work. Going as far as saying that she can fix his addiction? Boy, get a grip. Putting all that pressure on somebody, and I don't know, it's just the stupidest thing ever. Here's a bit of a dive into the visuals of this album. Now, let me pose a few questions for you, because I want to talk more about my favorite songs, my favorite points in terms of music in the podcast, but I also want to talk about this specific topic. This is not specifically about FKA Twigs, absolutely not. I've been thinking about art produced by women, and I tweeted this. Honestly, it's so annoying and boring that most of art, at least entertainment variety, made by women is still always centering men. It's good the conversation tone is changing, but I just don't care to talk about men or listen about them. Listen, I'm not trying to say that you cannot talk about relationships or whatever, but I think that it's specifically this conversation of what is the next step? What is the next conversation we can have? I think that obviously all of us have gone through this realization of what influence patriarchy has on us, what relationships are affected by it. However, I really want to hear more about those individuals, about those artists themselves. Obviously, artists like FKA Twigs are phenomenal, and I definitely do not want to critique them for talking about relationships as if men don't do that, because of course they do. But I do wish to hear more things outside of this first year of university philosophy class kind of discussion of identity. Even when the points are poignant, they're always with the backdrop of men. And I wonder if there is a way for us to be talking about things without that. Do I think that misogyny and other phenomena like that affect everything in our lives? Yes. Am I asking for apolitical art? No, because all art is political. There's no way to not be political, especially the more you're affected by issues in the world, the less you're capable of bathing in that privilege of not talking about those things. What I'm saying is not that we shouldn't be talking about these issues that affect us, but that I want more artists to talk about very specific things that concern them, especially when it comes to artists that are women. Concern them in terms of them as a human being too, not just as their gender, right? Projects like this that I find are really well done and are done by artists that I really respect and love. I just wonder if there would be work that I could actually relate to on a different level instead of just relating to systematic problems that affect us. Let me know what you think about this conversation. It's a little bit, I fear that it's a little bit too nuanced for the internet. I know that the discourse on all of these issues on the internet are quite behind and a little bit juvenile. I understand that. However, I think that with the people that watch my videos, I think I can bring those things up and have these conversations with you. Something that does not concern romantic love. I think that artists explore romantic love way too much and they don't explore other things as often, and I wish they would, because there's so many things in life that really need art to support us through those experiences. I really believe so, and I think that there are as many experiences as there are people, of course, but there are definitely things that we share and that we could express that would help a lot. And don't think that I'm not going to criticize men for talking about romance or sex all the time, because I definitely will, and I do, and I did. I'm a hater. Like, that's what I do. I criticize things all the time. It's just that I care to talk on my channel only about my favorite artists, and my current playlist looks like this. So I don't know what to tell you. It just so happens that my favorite artists are all girlies, so that's just how it is. Is there a way to make art that goes beyond those topics? Anyway, I have started a Patreon because being a YouTuber is a little bit unstable. I want to have a little bit more stability to like keep the quality that I have on this channel. I created a few tiers. For the first tier, $3 Canadian, you get to see the behind the scenes. I basically post all the time of like what my progress is with the videos, or like what kind of problems I'm having with them, or what kind of difficulties come with making a really big video, for example. A second tier also includes an extra video a month that is kind of like a throwback to favorites and Q&A in one. It could be personal, something that wouldn't do as well on YouTube, because YouTube doesn't really like personality driven content anymore. It's kind of pushing more research-based content nowadays. I don't think it's pushing it, it's just a thing that the audience demands it. And then the third tier has all of those things, obviously, and it also has an extra bonus of secrets, which is basically me sharing things that no one is supposed to know for now, future projects that I cannot talk about or something like that. A few people already pledged on Patreon, so one of them is Jonah Figueroa. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Let me know if I'm not pronouncing it right. Another one is Deoxys, Clara Ray Mayo, Danny or Diani, and Amaria D. Thank you guys for pledging. I really appreciate that. Don't forget to leave me questions if you want me to answer any, or any requests, because I will be putting those into the video for this month. Really appreciate the support, and I hope that it feels like a fair pricing and interesting content for you, with like extra content on the side. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye!